Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be looking at the Megillah, I believe that's how it's pronounced, Megillah Anthology, put out by Chad Bilyeu. I recently reviewed Chad's first issue of his new book, The Re-Up, so go take a look at that. And then after that, I contacted Chad and ordered all of the books that he's done, which include Megillah, and then his series Chad in Amsterdam, which I'll do a separate review of, but which is a really cool kind of American Splendor type of series. I wanted to review this on its own though, because I think it's a cool little anthology project with a lot of good artists in it. And looking at this and looking at all the different artists that Chad has working on Chad in Amsterdam, I really like his taste in cartoonists. So I would like to see him. Hopefully, people will support this and we can see more of what he does, because I like the artists that he's exposing to me too. Some of the artists I know already, and some of them I don't. This first story is by an artist named Eric Eryc, and then the last name is Ywhy. Couldn't find him on Instagram, but would really like to know more about this artist. The story didn't capture me so much. It seems like it's part of a larger world that I would like to know more about, but the art in this really captured me. You know, the quality of the art, and then the formal stuff that's going on in this was really compelling to me as well. And I'll say that the production on all of Chad's stuff is top notch, like just gorgeous reproduction of line work. Colors always look great print quality. So with an artist like this, that really enhances it. But I love this here, where you have this woman. She's flying around like on her glider wings and delivering food. And so this is all of the orders that she's picking up. And then this is one kind of big moment of her flying through the window, grabbing the orders, and getting her cigarette lit. And then down here, you have like a subdivision of that, and you see it more moment by moment or action by action, where here she's coming up to the window. There's all of the orders, so you can number one, number two, number three. Here she is. She zooms in and gets them. And then this is like a second later after this. You know, he's lighting her cigarette. She gets it lit and then goes out the window. So I really, really, really love that musical. And I've said this many times. I just love visual rhythm. I love rhythm in general. And so when you have something like this, where it's one long note subdivided into 6 smaller notes, and that's on the page, really well structured, I just love the musicality of that. I love the play with time and subdivision and all of that. Then you get similar play with time on the next page, where she's like in the middle doing this pose, and you have this thing that reads both kind of as a racetrack, because they're timing her, like how fast can you deliver the food, but it also serves as a clock with 12, 3, 6, and 9. So I think all of that kind of stuff's really smart. And then on this page, you have a really smart thing with the captions, where there's like 3 levels of captions that are cutting each other off. Some of the words are getting cut off. Things are like being interrupted in multiple layers. That's a really interesting strategy. So a lot of cool formalisms, really great art. Story, I feel, is like it's just too small of a piece of whatever this artist is up to. So I'd love to see more stuff by Eric Y. Couldn't find Eric on Instagram, but we'll keep looking around online and see if I could find more stuff by this artist. This piece here is by James the Stanton. I followed on Instagram and am curious about James the Stanton's Nartoons. This is probably a short story from one of those, I'm not sure. But also reminds me of another artist that I'm intending to get their stuff eventually, but someone I follow on Instagram that I really like, Michael Sweater. It's kind of like this Adventure Time, Steven Universe, and then some like European Moebius type of influences, and I really like that all coming together. I feel like this would be an artist that would be really good for like a Louis Trondheim project, Dungeon, or any of his other books. And then one of my favorites of the last couple of years, Everett Glenn, someone I really believe in as like one of the future, you know, someone who's coming out now that's going to be important and relevant for a long time, the future of comics type of person. E.S. Glenn, love his work. So, you know, that's how you know, like Chad's got tastes that sync up with mine. I love the choices, and anytime I get some new Everett Glenn stuff, I'm excited. This piece here is by Maya Matches. Really like the cartooning, and really like the kind of montage approach to page layout that's in here. Really like the colors. Really like the colored lines, the lines that have been screened to to like a dark purple color. But the story is just an autobiography of how I became a comic artist. And anyone who watched the channel just know that that's a genre some people like. I just don't like it. Especially something like this that's so name droppy and navel gazy. I don't mind autobiography if you're really like the Chad in Amsterdam stuff. He's kind of showing me things I've never seen before. Same with his re-up, you know, he's like actually lived through some shit. He was a drug dealer, and that's an interesting story to tell. It's not that interesting to me to hear one more story about how someone became a cartoonist. Like, I'm a cartoonist, you're not telling me anything new. And then you're going through and saying, oh, I love Julie Doucette, I love Eric Creek, I love this person. And I don't know, that just as a genre is old to me. So I really like the art, and this is a powerful creator. I'm gonna try and follow up and see if Maia Matches has done other non-autobiographical stuff or more compelling autobiographical stuff, because I really do like the art. And there's an interesting moment in here where it's almost like she's criticizing herself, I think, or at least is opening herself to criticism in a way that I find interesting. Where she's like early in her career, and she's going up to one of her comic idols, Eric Creek, who Sean has a book coming out by the way, The Exile, and a cartoonist that I think is really great. So I get why she would love his work. But she's going up to him and like kind of asking him for a favor, and he respectfully declines, because it's like, you know, she's kind of like lower down on the totem pole and asking someone more well known for a favor, basically. And then here now she's more established. It's Me Today, and she's leading a class for local comic artists and kind of training some students, and she's talking, you know, this contextualizing this whole thing as like a speech she gave to a class, how I became a comic artist. And then this kid's like, can you follow me on Instagram? And then she just kind of ignores it and says, join me next week for my follow-up seminar, how I continued to be a comic artist. And so that's interesting, because it's like this person is kind of asking for her help to get some exposure and level up their career in the same way she was asking Eric Creek. And it almost here reads like she's making fun of this person, you know, like this is inappropriate. But there's also a criticism being leveled against herself, that she's like being evasive and not like reaching down the totem pole and helping pull someone up in the same way that she was hoping for here. So I don't know if she intended that or not, but that was to me the most interesting thing about the book. This was my least favorite piece. This is a cartoonist I'm aware of, BEM, Bernard Edward Moreau. But I didn't really like this. Just some kids playing video games, and then they start fighting in real life with superpowers, and I don't know, the style's not my thing, and the weird kind of shitty computer gradients and stuff's not my thing. So that wasn't really for me. And then this last one is by Laurie Cook, Larie. And I really like the cartooning in it. The story's a little goofy, but that's fine. It's an anthology. Really like the cartooning in it. And it was a strange thing for me to see like this really well reproduced, like dark black line work, and then really good printing overall, but with the old school Ben-Day patterns. So the Ben-Day patterns are like perfect, which I'm not used to seeing. When you see actual like old comics, there's kind of like mess ups in them. And like really nice saturated colors and everything. So it's a weird mix of like this thing that's going on right now where people are nostalgic for the look of old comics, and they're finding digital ways to reproduce that by like having these tone patterns and stuff and choosing the colors that you would choose back then. But normally when people do that, they also like distress the black, and they'll have like where the blue's like printed over the black and making a different color, and they'll make the paper look yellow and weathered and beat up. It's strange for me to see that nostalgia for the Ben-Day dots put with modern production, and that's just a preference on my part. Like, the artist did exactly what they intended to do, and it's a look they're going for. I just personally don't understand the look. I think it, like, you might as well, like, if you're gonna do the retro thing, go all the way, or just like use modern coloring. I don't know why I need to see the Ben-Day dots. It doesn't serve any like symbolic function in the purpose. I've seen some artists like Mike Huddleston kind of uses it for symbolic purposes. in that book that Decorum that he did with John Hickman. Some people who do things like that. This doesn't really serve any purpose other than just like a look. And it doesn't make sense to me why you would go for this look without going all the way. But it's interesting. It's just an interesting look. I just don't get it. But this is another artist that I would love to see more of what they do and longer versions of what they do. But also couldn't find them on Instagram. There's just an email address here. So a couple of these people I'll have to look up a little bit more carefully. But really enjoyed this. Like usually anthologies are hit or miss. And except for the BEM story in here, pretty much all of them were hits for me on some spectrum at least. And then some of them were just, like Everett stuff is just top notch all the way through. So hopefully this is like volume 1. I don't see it on here that it has like a volume 1, but hopefully there's, this is issue number 1. So hopefully there's some more issues of this. This should still be available on Chad's site. So go order it and hopefully incentivize Megillah too, because I think this is a really cool anthology, and I personally just resonate with most of Chad's tastes in cartoonists, and I would like to see more of who he's finding, because I like finding new artists. So I think it's a worthy project to support. If you enjoy what we're doing here on Living the Line as the YouTube channel, there's a couple ways to support us. One is Patreon. We always appreciate people contributing to the Patreon. There's some different tiers there with some different voting opportunities and chances to win sketches and things like that. That's always appreciated. And then the best thing you can do is support Sean's publishing efforts through Living the Line Publishing. So go ahead and take a look at some of the books that he has coming out or has already put out now. The Exile by Eric Creek is a gorgeously illustrated Viking saga of revenge. Eric Creek calls it his Viking Western. It's about a guy who's been away on the warpath and is returning home to some family troubles that have to be resolved. And this is told in just this amazing, like, kind of 3-color art style that looks like old woodblock cuts or something. It's absolutely gorgeous book that you've got to pick up. Salaniyalo, Path of the Shades by Clarence Doss is a really cool ongoing project that Living the Line will be producing. Clarence is a PhD student from Fiji who's studying the myths of Fiji for his doctoral thesis. And part of that study project is that he's producing these comics. They're kind of like Hellboy, where there's these little short stories that capture all of these different mythologies. But then he's using that to wrap the project into his doctoral thesis and then provide educational material where people can come to these comics. They don't have to read his PhD thesis. They can come to the comics and get a more consumable version. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you get them.